has been returned to the U.S. Treasury.
Okay, and this furniture was selected by your wife, is that correct?
A style and a color was selected by her.
Fabrics, that sort of thing?
With the caveat that we were not happy with the pricing and they needed to find something. Well, if anybody knew my wife, they would realize how ridiculous this was. She's the most frugal person in the world.
So when did you become aware of the pricing?
When the article came out.
When the article came out. Do you know Ada Rodriguez?
Yes.
And she certainly had the quote on the pricing. That was just never shared with you before this?
Like I said, I dismissed myself from this issue because I had much more important things to deal with.
Is your wife involved in any other decisions regarding taxpayer money or funding or purchasing at the
None whatsoever. And her question about all this was, can we buy used furniture? Why can't we buy used furniture? And we found out that we didn't have a way of doing that.
Okay. So lots of talk about the furniture and your wife. Does your wife have any office space or a HUD email?
She does not. My wife comes to my office when we have an engagement to go to so that we can go to it together. That averages out to about once a week. My wife is a very friendly, gregarious person. You know, she talks with the staff, but she has nothing to do with HUD policy. No desire to have anything to do with HUD policy.
So last summer, you also allowed your son to help organize an agency listening tour in Baltimore against the advice of HUD ethics lawyers. Following this listening tour, did your son enter into any business relationships with any of the attendees?
He did not. He makes 100% sure that he stays arm's length away from any such things. You know, I discussed the tour with him before. The reason he got involved in the first place is because they were having some difficulty discovering who the right people were to speak to in Baltimore. I suggested that he knew just about everybody there and they should talk to him.
Have there been any other incidents when you've chosen to ignore the advice of HUD Ethics Council?
Well, HUD's Ethics Council suggested that it might look funny for my son to be there. I discussed that with him and left it up to him. You know, I'm not a person who spends a lot of time, you know, thinking about how something looks. I realize that that's not the way of Washington, and you know, that's a lesson that I've learned.
You've recently asked a HUD inspector